Spoilers to the film Fargo. This is Fargo, a film directed by Joe Coen and Ethan Coen where everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Meet Jerry Lundegaard, a used car salesman who's gotten himself in a bit of a financial pickle. Now, picture yourself in Jerry's shoes. What would you do in this scenario? A. Take a loan from the bank. B. Ask for money from your wife. C. Ask for money from your rich father-in-law. Or D. Collaborate with criminals in a scheme to kidnap your own wife, ask your father-in-law for ransom money, keep the whole situation discreet, deliver 4% of the ransom money to the criminals who had no idea about the other 96%, then retrieve your wife without suspicion. If you had guessed D, you would be correct. Except, nothing in that plan went accordingly. In Fargo, violence and moral indifference are normal parts of a world that is otherwise kind and ordinary. Throughout the film, peaceful settings contrast with chaotic violence, characters with unique moral values show their care or lack of care of others, and finally, the use of repetition in score demonstrates theme, emphasizing the warm and cold sides of the same coin, that is, humanity. First up, setting. The film takes place in the upper Midwest of the United States, specifically in Fargo, North Dakota, Brainerd, Minnesota, and Minneapolis, Minnesota. For geographical context, these locations reflect a cold and harsh climate, which means the people that live there build shelter and gather in cities to stay warm, creating contrast between the kind and warm community of people with an isolated, icy landscape. In the opening of the film, we see Jerry towing a car in a frozen landscape where he seems isolated and up to no good. This wintry setting serves as a symbol for all the crime and violence that would occur later. After Jerry meets with the criminals, we cut to his home and his family. We are presented with an ordinary household, introducing Jerry's son, wife, and father-in-law. Under the impression of this lovely living room, we see a different side of the film where family and connection are shown. Meanwhile, back in Fargo, we see the two criminals having dialogue while up to no good. This contrast between the two sides continues to show in an overlapping fashion, creating this series of warm and normal environments that clashes with cold and harsh landscapes. Moving on, characterization. You've already met the star of our show, Jerry Lundegaard. He's a scheming little weasel who wants to outsmart others around him while being unnoticed and taking all the treasure. He's a man motivated by fear and making all the wrong decisions because of it. When Jerry realizes the consequences of his actions, he panics and runs, demonstrating his selfishness and greed.
Stan, I'm thinking we should offer him $500,000. Eh?
Now come on here. No way, Wade. No way.
Exhibit A.
You want your own wife kidnapped?
Yeah.
Jerry arranges his wife to be kidnapped. Making such irrational decisions leads to serious consequences later. Exhibit B.
You're saying we put in all the money and you collect when it pays off.
Jerry tries to scam Wade, his father-in-law. While the kidnapping deal is taking place, Jerry tries to gain the money in a different way by getting a false investment for his used car lot. Exhibit C.
It's not me paying the ransom. The thing is,
Jerry manipulates the criminals. Jerry told his associates the ransom would benefit them 50-50, but that was a lie. His plan was to keep most of the money for himself and leave them a small portion. This shows how Jerry views people as tools to his dirty work. Exhibit D.
it's okay, Scotty.
Jerry comforts his son. He tells him that everything will be okay.
Is Scotty gonna be all right?
Yeah, geez, Scotty. Yeah, I'll go talk to him.
Jerry only remembered his son when his companion reminded him. During his talk with his son, his little show of care disappears the moment he is reminded of his scheme as greed and fear takes over. Next up, Jerry's associates, our favorite pair of lawbreakers, meet Carl Showalter and Gaear Grimsrud, aka the Brain and the Brawn, though there isn't much of brain going around. Carl is a slick talker, anxious fella, the impulsive, funny-looking guy.
He was kind of funny looking.
He plays off to be the brave one, but often makes irrational decisions, harming the people around him. Gaear, on the other hand, is cold, ruthless, and shows no care for human lives. Exhibit A.
Unguent.
What?
I need unguent.
Gaear's calmness when kidnapping Jerry's wife. When tension is high and Carl scrambles to look for the victim, Gaear treats his wound first, showing total control and how normal this job is to him. Exhibit B. The police encounter and how the two criminals react.
I'll take care of this.
After retrieving Jerry's wife, their car is stopped by a state trooper. Reacting to this situation, Carl tries to bribe the officer to lower suspicion, showing his anxiety and attempt to smooth talk out of conflict. At that moment, Gaear is emotionless, waiting for things to turn over. When Carl's bribe fails, he chooses violence and shoots the officer. Shocked by this, Carl shows a bit of humanity by reacting to the dead officer when Gaear is completely unfazed. Gaear continues to kill 2 witnesses on sight, showing no empathy for the lives of others. Exhibit C. Watching Jerry's wife attempt to flee. Gaear and Carl reach a safe house and watches a desperate act of escape by their victim. Gaear shows no empathy or emotion and Carl laughs at her.
Oops!
Exhibit D. Carl's act of murder.
Drop that f***ing money!
Carl expects to meet Jerry for the ransom money, but instead he sees Wade, Jerry's father-in-law. Carl, after going through several frustrating events, is extremely upset that things haven't gone his way. With both individuals tense and aggressive, the interaction escalates and Carl shoots Wade. Wade fights back and shoots him in the face. Carl's impulsive character controls his actions, causing murder. When fleeing the scene, he shoots the innocent parking attendant on impulse, showing his messed up state of mind. This is Marge Gunderson. She's a kind, morally upright police chief who is also the loving and loyal wife of her husband. Marge is empathetic, patient, caring for those around her while being very capable. She works and communicates in a grounded way, uncovering the crime while being calm and controlled. Exhibit A.
Thanks a bunch. So what's the deal now? Gary says triple homicide?
Investigating the crime scene. Marge arrives and greets her colleague in a friendly tone, while also starting her work immediately. She analyzes the pieces of evidence and figures out what had happened. In the car, she communicates with her colleague in a patient and thoughtful manner.
I'm not sure that I agree with you 100% on your police work there, Lil.
Yeah?
Exhibit B. Eating lunch with her husband.
Hiya, hun.
I brought you some lunch, Margie.
Marge greets her husband warmly, bringing him something he wanted and eating the lunch he brought her. She asks about his hobbies, encourages him, sharing a moment of affection and supportiveness. Exhibit C. Gathering with an old friend. Marge catches up with her old classmate when he tries to make a move.
I was married to... You mind if I sit over here? I was married to Linda Cooksey.
No, why don't you sit over there? I prefer that.
Huh? Oh.
Reacting to this, she sets clear boundaries in a polite manner, being uncomfortable but calm. Exhibit D. One-sided conversation with Gaear. After finding and arresting him, Marge speaks to him in her police car. She calmly states the fact of his murders in a disappointing tone, expressing her disbelief for such meaningless violence.
And for what? For a little bit of money. There's more to life than a little money, you know. Don't you know that?
In Fargo, the morals of individuals can be split into 3 categories, measuring their moral compass in a conflict between temptation and will. Carl and Gaear rest on the far left, where almost every action is motivated by greed or selfishness, which harms the people around them. They represent the extreme case of evil. In contrast, Marge sits on the far right, where most of her actions either follows a righteous principle or emphasizes with those around her. Her actions show care and love, representing an ideal case of good. Jerry's character is interesting because he is caught in the middle. Jerry is tempted by his greed and selfishness while trying to make the right decisions. His desperation and emotional pressure are driving factors that lead him astray from the righteous path, causing unwanted and devastating consequences. Now, let's turn our attention to Fargo's use of score. In the opening scene, we hear a haunting and grand tune as a symbol of morality and mood, establishing an iconic melody for the rest of the film. These adaptations of the same melody emphasize emotions and mental states, showing a calmer and more reflective part of the film.
Heck, Norm, you know, we're doing pretty good.
In comparison, another recurring melody paints a climatic and violent picture, directing showing the morally harsh side of humanity. The sound of suspense and shadiness are clearly tied to Carl and Gaear, presenting their criminal behavior. Fargo uses the repetition of opposing score to emphasize its theme, conveying the intense and calm segments with corresponding music that matches the character's actions and progressing the story by going through several mood shifts. In this video, we've looked at how setting, characterization, and score create an image of normalized violence in an ordinary world. The way the film uses these elements show how violence is just part of everyday life for the characters, either through the shoes of a police chief, voice of a man in debt, or the eyes of ruthless criminals. It all mixes together, making the violent acts feel more normal. The score and setting complements each other, showing a pattern of peace and chaos. In the end, it all blends together, making you rethink what's really normal in this world.
Empty eggs?
No, I guarantee this was an honest-to-goodness great...
The heck do you mean?
So, do you remember getting a call Wednesday night?
Nope.
You do reside there at 1425 Fremont Terrace.
Yep.
Anyone else residing there?
No.
Yeah?
Yeah, hon? Yeah, he's here. Yeah, I'll catch him for you, hon.
Yeah.
It's Dad.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, is that useful to you?
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.